If you guys follow me on Instagram, you know that I was having some issues getting the Sherco started. We know it's not the battery because I was able to push start it. So what we think was going on is that the Bendix was going out. So this is the gear that expands from the starter to the gear that then turns everything inside the transmission. So today we're gonna put in a new Bendix and we're gonna see if that fixes our problem. Welcome back to Seat Time. I'm Woody and I hope you guys are ready to dig in and see if we can get the Sherco running again. Let's do it. To get to the Bendix and the starter gear, you need to remove the ignition cover. Even though every brand of dirt bike is different, the Bendix needs to drive the flywheel, which is typically on the left side of the engine. As I was removing these 6mm bolts, I realized they were all different lengths. I laid out the pattern and took a picture for reference when putting the cover back on. I was trying to be helpful for future Woody. Yep, the Sherco still needs a bath. Don't worry. It got one after the most recent ride. Due to the pull of the magnet on the stator, the cover was a bit tough to get off. I was trying to move slowly, so I didn't want to pry anything with too much force. Luckily, the screwdriver I was using found some bite and the cover came off. I also would recommend future Woody to remove the shift lever first. I thought I could leave it on, but the reality is that eventually removing the shift lever, I had a lot more space to see and move around. Since I don't remove the Sherco shift lever that much, I always forget to remove the pinch bolt enough so it can slide off the shift shaft. The shaft has a small channel in it that the bolt fits into. That channel in the shaft is nice to keep the lever on, but you do have to remember it's there so you don't get frustrated and start beating on your bike. As I stated, the Bendix can come out with the lever on, so I gave up one task, removing the shift lever, to get a small win of getting the old Bendix out of the bike. Here's the Bendix that we just pulled out, and you can see that it looks like it should still be expanding when you use the gears. But here is one thing that I noticed is that looks to have been disconnected. Now if we look at the new Bendix, right, we can still grab the gears and we can do that, but this is still connected to the gear. So that looks like, it definitely looks like it was the Bendix that went out. So this is the new one. We're gonna get it in. We're gonna see how this goes. Apparently I was ashamed of my shift lever removing abilities because I forgot to film the final removal. But now that the lever is off, I have a clearer space to work in. I noticed little metal shavings inside the case, which is what I'm cleaning off. Since nothing else looked damaged, my assumption is that those shavings came from whatever broke within the Bendix. The plate that I am removing here is holding the starter gear in place. It connects to the starter, which you can see poking its little head through the case. The starter drives this gear, and then this gear drives the Bendix. The Bendix expands, connects to the flywheel, and then boom, magic. In the microfiche for the Sherco, there's an asterisk next to the starter gear, which they officially call the double pinion electrical starter. Asking around, this could be telling us this part has been updated from the stock form. When I had both double pinion electrical starter gears in hand, you could see the different etchings on them. Besides that though, I couldn't tell the difference between the two. Maybe they changed the tapers on the gears for better connectivity or longevity. The bearings for the Bendix and the starter gear are the smallest, cutest little bearings. I didn't order new ones, so I decided to grease these up. To be honest though, I have no idea what type of bearing puller you need to get these out. It must be a bearing puller for ants. A little bit of Maxima assembly lube applied to the starter gear and the Bendix, since there really isn't any lubrication here. There are also 4 dowels you need to pay attention to. 2 for the starter gear plate and 2 for the ignition cover. Don't move fast and misplace these. I couldn't find the exact torque specs for these plate bolts, but Sherco North Texas recommended 9 Newton meters. Remember those dowels I told you about? Yeah, I tried to put the ignition cover back on without putting the dowels back in place. I laid the bolts out on the floor in the pattern I had taken from the earlier picture. From there, I used a crisscross pattern to tighten the bolts down. Does anyone have a small digital torque wrench they recommend? I had to show you the reason why the shift lever removal and installation needed to be talked about. This was the true learning reminder about the channel in the shift shaft. I can't leave these moments out though, because it helps us remember we're all always learning and that we're all human. Okay, power on. Power on. Gas is on. Choke is on. Let's see what happens. So far, it looks like I did a decent job replacing the Bendix. If you were following along with the repair on Instagram, you saw that the gears of the Bendix still work, but this top piece here is actually disconnected from this top gear. And I think that that's what's separated and why the Bendix wasn't working anymore. This is a 2018 300 SER. I have not had this Bendix go out before. So over 5 years of riding, many hundreds of hours on the starter, and it's been fine. So for me to have to replace this once, so far, we're doing pretty good. Now, I have started the bike multiple times. I have ridden it up and down, killed it, started it, killed it, started it. Nothing weird has gone on yet, but I have also made sure that the power is off. So I'm ready to go load up for tomorrow and go to Twin Hills and see what it's like riding the Sherco now that the starter works again, now that I can get the bike to start. But it definitely makes me wonder, should this be the part that goes out to where we can't start our motorcycles? I think it's a great question. Should they still have the ability to be able to have a Kickstarter on them? This sucked, and I didn't have a Kickstarter. I had to push start it. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. If you have any questions from what I showed you guys, obviously ask those. If you have any tips or tricks for other riders, racers, or mechanics for future video viewers, make sure you leave those in the comments. If you guys want to support Seat Time, we do now have a monthly subscription on Buy Me a Coffee. So buymeacoffee.com/seattime is the way to do that. Of course, you can grab a shirt. We are looking for ways to get a little bit more financial support here at Seat Time so we can make a few more trips, go out and meet up with other riders, right? So we can get content like we did with Cole, but other riders that don't just live in Texas. That's where we're trying to head right now. I think that content could be awesome. We just need a little bit of financial support to get us there. If we don't get a chance to see you on the trail, at least we'll get to see you here on the internet. Enjoy getting Seat Time, everybody, and we will see you for the next one. Peace. Bendix. Why is it called a Bendix? Like, seriously, what's up with that? Bendix. Weird.